someone says something or doesn't say something, and suddenly your whole afternoon has a weight to it. You know the feeling. A coworker walks past your desk without looking up. A friend takes 6 hours to reply to a message that took you 10 seconds to send. Your partner is quiet at dinner, and you start running the tape. You replay the last thing you said. You search your memory for the moment you became too much or not enough. By evening, you're carrying something that was never yours to carry. You know what I'm talking about. Don't pretend you don't. This is one of the loneliest experiences a person can have because it happens entirely inside your own head. If someone asked you what happened today, you'd say nothing. Nothing happened. And that's exactly the problem. Nothing happened. And you're still bleeding from it. Here's what I've noticed about people who take everything personally. It's not that they're weak. It's that they learned somewhere very early that the safest way to move through the world was to read the room constantly, to track people's moods like weather, to notice when the temperature dropped and assume they were the cold front. Maybe you grew up somewhere a mood could change without warning, and your survival depended on catching it before it caught you. Maybe you absorbed the idea that if something felt wrong in the room, you must be responsible for it. That's not paranoia, that's training. And it worked. It kept you safe back then. That sensitivity you carry around like a curse was a survival skill once. It just happens to be a skill that destroys you when it gets pointed at every interaction in your adult life. Take a breath here. I want to tell you what this looked like for me because I'm not talking from above you. There was a stretch of years where I could not handle feedback of any kind. So I overworked. I chased perfection at a level that wasn't healthy and wasn't really about the work. It was about building a wall so high that nobody could find a single thing to comment on. Because I knew if they did, I would take it personally and it would unmake me for the day. I was exhausted constantly. I thought I was being disciplined. I was actually being terrified. There was a colleague in that period who was by every reasonable measure just a difficult person. Everyone knew it. He treated everyone the way he treated me. And I still took every single thing he said and made it mean something about who I was. I knew it was him, and I still couldn't put it down. Knowing isn't enough. Just knowing doesn't free you. The emails were the worst. If I had to send a difficult one, I would write it, rewrite it, polish it, and then after I had already sent it, I would read it again and again, searching it for the line that might give someone a reason to think less of me. That's not being thorough. That's a person trying to control how they exist in someone else's mind and being unable to stop. So let me ask you something. Whose voice is it really when you start running the tape? Sit with that for a second. Because I'd bet that voice didn't start out as yours. I'd bet it belonged to someone else first. A parent, a sibling, a teacher, someone whose disapproval shaped you before you had any way to defend against it. And somewhere along the way, you internalized that voice so completely that you stopped being able to tell it apart from your own thoughts. Now it just sounds like you. Now it just sounds like the truth. But it isn't the truth. It's an old recording playing on a loop. And the loudest thing in your life right now might be a tape that was recorded by someone who isn't even in the room anymore. What started to crack mine open wasn't a technique. It was listening slowly to people who actually understood this and then doing one small thing differently. I stopped responding to everything. I stopped treating every comment as something that required a defense. I stopped editing the email after I sent it. And in the gap that opened up, I started to see something I had not been able to see before. It wasn't about me, it was about them. The colleague was carrying his own thing. The people whose feedback I had been bracing against for years had their own private weather. None of it had been the verdict on me that I had been treating it as. Here's the part you might not love. The reason you keep taking things personally, even after you understand all of this intellectually, is that there's a strange kind of safety in it. Stay with me. If everything is about you, then everything is in some twisted way under your control. If your friend is distant because of something you did, then theoretically you can fix it by being better. Taking things personally feels terrible, but it gives you a steering wheel. The alternative, accepting that other people are complete worlds you don't fully have access to, requires you to let go of a kind of control you've been white-knuckling for years. Because if you're not the cause, you're not in control. And if you're not in control, anything can happen. So this isn't really about thinking better. It's about being willing to feel the powerlessness of being a human being among other human beings whose inner lives are not yours to manage. That powerlessness is terrifying at first. But on the other side of it is freedom. Not the kind sold in motivational videos, something quieter. The freedom of getting a short reply and not building a courtroom in your head. The freedom of someone disliking you and being able to keep eating your sandwich. The freedom of sending an email and closing the tab. And here's the part that took me longest to understand. You don't get there by trying harder not to take things personally. You get there by changing your relationship with the part of you that takes things personally in the first place. That part isn't your enemy. That part is a kid who learned to scan for danger because scanning kept them alive. The move is not to shut them down. The move is to put a hand on their shoulder and tell them, you've got it from here. I know that sounds soft. I would have rolled my eyes too back when I was rewriting emails at midnight. But you can't bully yourself out of a survival response. The only thing that loosens its grip is something that looks like kindness, applied consistently over time to the part of yourself you've been most embarrassed by. Now, here's something you can actually do. The next time you catch yourself running the tape, I want you to stop and say out loud, even if you're alone, I don't actually know what's going on with them. Say it slowly. Because you don't know. You've built a story out of pieces, and the story feels like fact because your nervous system has been trained to mistake fear for evidence. It's not evidence. It's a guess. And the guess is almost always more painful than whatever is actually true. Then ask one question. What else could be going on for them right now that has nothing to do with me? Maybe they're tired. Maybe they had a bad call this morning. Maybe they're a person having a person day and you happen to be in the room. The point isn't to manufacture excuses. The point is to crack the certainty. The certainty is what's killing you. You are going to mess this up. You are going to do the work for a week and then have a hard day and run the tape completely. That moment is not failure. That moment is the moment that matters most. Because what you do next, whether you pile shame on top of the original wound or whether you say, of course, this is hard, look how long you carried it, that's where the change lives. The goal isn't to stop caring. The goal is to be moved by people without being demolished by them. to be soft and not unsafe inside that softness. That's possible. I'm telling you, because I watched it happen in me, and I was rereading sent emails at 1 in the morning. So this week, just one thing. The next time you feel the drop, catch it and say out loud, I don't actually know what's going on with them. Let that not knowing exist for 1 minute without rushing to fill it with a story about your own fault. 1 minute. That's the whole assignment. You're not too sensitive. You're not too much. You learned a thing that kept you safe, and now you're going to learn a thing that lets you live. The part of you that's been carrying all of this alone in the dark for as long as you can remember, they don't need you to fight them. They just need to know you finally see them. I see them. And I know you're going to start to too. And remember, you are in a marathon of life, not a sprint. Thank you for staying until the end. That says something about you, and I think you already know what it is. If there is someone in your life who is fighting the same wall, send them this. Sometimes knowing you are not the only one changes everything. If this channel feels like a voice worth keeping close, please subscribe. There is more ahead, and it is built for exactly where you are going. I will see you in the next one.